Welcome to the Global Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety 5th webinar in a series of 6 called Let's Get Minimum 3-Star Roads by 2020. Many NGOs are unsure how they can contribute meaningfully to reducing fatalities on our roads and to the star rating concept and 3-Star Coalition specifically. The webinars are intended to inspire you and provide you with specific ideas on how you can get started or build on what you already do. We would like to make these webinars as useful for you as possible, and so we can ensure that you get the information you need. You may have feedback or questions, and here on this slide there's a link to a question and feedback form. You can also find the question and feedback form here on our website on www.roadsafetynGOs.org. You go under Activities, Capacity Building and the Empowerment Program. And here you find all the webinars, and the question and feedback forms are here. And today we'll focus on how build partnerships and building a coalition in your own country. You can see an overview of all the webinars here. In this webinar we have two presenters. FIA Foundation's US Manager Natalie Dressen will start by stressing the importance of working with different partners in your country, and Valeria Mota, Co-Executive Director of Fundación Gonzalo Rodriguez in Uruguay, will spend 15 minutes talking about her organization has built partnerships and in-country coalitions for child safety in Uruguay. Following, Natalie will add a few comments to Valeria's presentation. Welcome and thank you to both of you. Natalie, please share your ideas.
Sure. So as Lotte said, we'd like to welcome you to our webinar, which we hope will inspire you to build your own coalition in your own country for the 3-Star Coalition. In this presentation, we hope that all NGOs, those experienced with building coalitions and those without experience, will learn strategies to bring in the right people to a coalition to your country. For a bit of background, as Lotte said, my name is Natalie Dressen and I'm the U.S. Manager of the FIA Foundation, also a member of the 3-Star Coalition. Our foundation is an innovative global road safety philanthropy which aims to promote safe, clean, fair, and green mobility for all. Some of you may be familiar with us because we proposed the UN Decade of Action for Road Safety 2011 to 2020, and we're supporting programs, pilot initiatives, and campaigns in over 80 countries. We also launched the Save Kids Lives campaign last year, which had over 1 million signatures to the Child Declaration, demanding that children have a right to safe roads. Now for a bit of background on the 3-Star Coalition. We're a group of over 60 like-minded organizations working to build a healthier world by advocating for the design and construction of safer roads in the developing world. We advocate for roads in developing countries to be built to a minimum 3-star safety standard for all users. And we urge organizations such as the World Bank to adopt this standard. Moving to a 3-star minimum standard will save lives, avert crippling injuries, and provide substantial economic returns. And the only way that we can accomplish this is through your advocacy. So today we're going to build on previous webinars by focusing on how to build a coalition in your own country, which we're going to call the Country Coalition. It's really just a subgroup of the 3-Star Coalition. The 3-Star Coalition, as you can see here, is the overall international coalition. And the Country Coalition will be the group of organizations in your country which are focused on efforts specific to your own country. So next slide, please. Here's an agenda. We know you have limited amounts of precious time, and this agenda should help you review if you need to jump around. Here's just an overview of what we're going to cover, and we can go to the next slide as well. This webinar is intended for NGOs at all levels which are trying to build a country coalition. We recognize that some NGOs may be very experienced at doing so, while others may not. But the good news is there's probably other organizations in your country watching this video and eager to build a coalition. If there's something we haven't covered, or if you have any questions, we do hope you'll let us know, because really we're here to help you. And one question you might ask yourself in the next slide is why we even need a country coalition? It's a fair question. The 3-Star Coalition recognizes that one organization can't improve the star ratings of roads alone, which is exactly why we have a big coalition of like-minded organizations all over the world aiming for the same thing and speaking with one voice. Your organization has the strengths and knowledge that other organizations don't, and vice versa. If we combine efforts, we can end up with a much stronger movement than we would have alone. What this means is that the best way to succeed in striving for the goal of a coalition and improving road safety in your country is to make a mini coalition of your own specific to your country. As the landscape and types of organizations are different in each country, there's not a prescribed recipe for what a coalition in your country should look like. And in this webinar, we hope to help you think about which organizations should be included in your coalition, how the organizations should interact with each other, and of course, the organizations that you're targeting in the first place. To learn a little bit more about what this effort looks like in reality, let's turn it over to Valeria Mota from the Fundación Gonzalo Rodriguez.
Thank you, Natalie. My name is Valeria Mota, and I'm a co-executive director at Fundación Gonzalo Rodriguez. Our foundation is a nonprofit organization which is based in Uruguay, and we're working with a regional approach to Latin America and the Caribbean. We're focused on child road safety. In this part of the webinar, we're going to talk about how to build up partnerships. So the first thing you have to do is to set up your objectives. When you do that, you have to think of the SMART concept. The objective has to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and you have to set a time frame. Next slide, please. So the first thing you have to do, you have to build a map, a who is who. To build this map, it will be an exercise to understand which other organizations are related with road safety. This map should contemplate everyone related to your cause. For instance, health professionals, insurance, specialized media outlets, NGOs, and government. You have to aim to at least think of 20 potential partners. Once you have written down those potential partners, it's time to build the pipeline. Next slide, please. To build this map, you have to think and list the organizations that are related to road safety somehow. You can start thinking about the decade of action pillars and also the risk factors established by WHO. Listing potential partners, you have to think from a technical point of view of engineers, constructions, highways, cars manufacturers. From a health perspective, you can think of doctor associations, private clinics, rehab centers. With a corporate social responsibility approach, you may think of companies that work with roads, transport, cars, motorcycles, and helmets. And also companies that have road safety in their corporate social responsibility. You have to think about other NGOs. Think of those related to health, to road safety, to childhood and family. And also you have to take into consideration other civil society organizations like religious congregations and Rotary clubs, social clubs, etc. Last but not least, you have to list all the government's dependencies that work on road safety, as the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Interior, and of course the Road Safety Agency. Next slide, please. In this slide, what we're going to talk about is how we establish a pipeline. And here you can see an example of the pipeline I'm talking about. In this pipeline, you have to include the name of the organization, what is the core business or cause, also the name of the decision maker, how to get to that decision maker, the proposal that you would like to do, the action plan, the deadline, and who is responsible for executing it. This pipeline will allow you to organize and prioritize each action. So next slide, please. So when we are building the pipeline, we will have to start thinking about the strategy for each potential partner. First of all, how to get them, and second, what we're going to propose. In order to be effective, it is recommended when meeting a new potential partner to be introduced by someone that have worked with us previously or that at least knows our organization. When thinking about the proposal, you have to take into consideration something that will be of your potential partner interest. So as an example, back in 2015, for Global Road Safety Week, we at Fundación Gonzalo Rodriguez wanted to have an activity in public places in Montevideo where volunteers were able to interact directly with the society and give them information about road safety tips, the child declaration and the Save Kids Life campaign, and also to create awareness with the media. So to launch this activity, we wanted a powerful press conference. So therefore, we needed authorities and key people related to road safety. So what we did, we mapped the organizations based in Montevideo, working with an interest in road safety, and we found Teleton. This organization worked providing treatments for children with psychomotor disabilities, and some of these children treated have been victims of road crashes. Therefore, it was a perfect fit. So when we have to think how to approach to Teleton, and we had to think of our current partners to be introduced. And the partner that introduced us was the Uruguayan Society of Pediatrics. Next slide, please. So when we have chosen our potential partners, we need to set up the first meetings. In the meeting, we need to engage our partner, understand their need, also bring an organizational brief, and also understand who is the decision maker to establish a timeline. This will level our expectations, and also let us know when we will expect for an answer from them. So for the case we were talking about with Teleton, we had our first meeting to discuss our idea. We asked them if they had anything planned for the Global Road Safety Week, and we told them about the importance of this week. In that first meeting, we realized that they did know nothing about this week, and also they were very interested on visibility. So next slide, please. So after that first meeting, it's time to prepare a proposal. So when you're preparing a proposal, you have to think outside of the box and think about what you need and the interest of your potential partner. You have to kiss it, which means to keep it short and simple. The proposal, you have to use images and refer to previous successful experiences if you had. So going back to Teleton, after that first meeting, when we realized that they want visibility, when we prepared the proposal, we thought on how to make visible their participation. So we invited their president to the press conference. We mentioned the organization on the press release, and we also included Teleton's logo on our volunteer apparel. With this, we realized how visibility was important for them, as well as being part of the Global Road Safety Week. So remember when preparing a proposal that long-lasting partnerships are those that are based with a win-win approach. Next slide, please. So the principal conclusions is we have to think about the benefits of partnering up with other organizations. There are several benefits. First of all, we get to leverage our message and reach more people. Second, we might be able to open new opportunities for future endeavors. Also, we are able to strengthen our leadership within the road safety community. And last but not least, our community might start seeing us as leaders, and also will have us in the loop for future opportunities. So now it's time to talk about some lessons learned through the process. First, it's important to focus and define a clear objective to approach a potential partner. If you don't have a clear idea of what you want, it's going to be difficult to drive partners towards your cause. Second, it's also really important to mapping your potential partners and identify the key person. Why is that? Because if we don't talk to the key person, we might be wasting our times. Third, always try to reach at least 10 potential partners, since usually the chance to establish a new partnership is 1 to 10, and this might vary depending on what we're asking. And also, it's important to establish a timeline with milestones that will allow us to organize and prioritize, and also keep both parties motivated. Last but not least, it is important to always measure our results and prepare reports that will let us to register our activities. Now we're going back to Natalie, and she will highlight some of the main points of this webinar.
Great, thank you so much, Valeria. So let's see, you've given us some really good input on how to map out who should be in the coalition and how to get started. But we've also talked about the importance of having key partners and a timeline and a plan. And let's look at a way to simplify that. So in here, you'll notice there's the core group in the middle between the 3-Star Coalition and the Country Coalition. And that core group aims to basically facilitate the process of coming up with a timeline and a strategic plan. Because as Valeria said, it's kind of hard to have a discussion with 30 partners and come to a consensus about a way forward. But the thing is that you're going to have natural leaders emerge once you establish that coalition anyway. Because not everybody wants to be heavily involved or has the capacity to do so. So for this reason, your country coalition should include a core group which will act as the driving force behind your coalition's efforts. You should meet with these organizations on a regular basis, in person or on the phone, to make sure you're all on the same page and aware of each other's efforts. When you need the help of your larger coalition that Valeria just talked about, you should loop them in as well. And again, this map basically shows you the connection between your country coalition, the core group, and then finally the 3-star coalition. So in the next slide, we're going to talk about how you build a core group. As we mentioned, as you take on efforts to promote your message or put pressure on your government or ministry, organizations willing to take a lead role are going to emerge. And there you go. Those are the potential members of your core group. Some potential members of your core group might include fellow NGOs, the private sector, the media, and school leaders. Think about the mapping exercise Valeria just talked about. Your core group is basically a representation of that map, and that's why we've included the same icons she had, just a little bit smaller, because that's exactly what it is. So if you have 5 organizations that work in infrastructure, your group should include the one leader in that field. If you have 10 representing advocacy, include that leader as well. Make sure this is an organization that is trusted by its peers and can speak for all. This list up here is just an example of who you might include in your core group, depending on the makeup of your coalition, and as we said, there's no right or wrong answer. You should basically keep these organizations interested and involved by including them in your efforts. Asking for their input and collaboration before planning events or efforts is a great way to create buy-in, making organizations feel like they're part of the effort and making it more likely that they will continue to partake. Like Valeria said, make sure you find the key responsible person at each organization to represent that organization and involve in your discussions. In the next slide, we're going to talk about getting everyone on the same page. Create a document that lays out the strengths of each organization and the role they'll play. Also, create a strategic plan, which includes your message to ensure everyone speaks with one voice and to have as a reference document. You can feel free to make a first draft of this plan if it's helpful, and then open it up to your core group for modifications. Organizations joining the group should agree that they must come in with the goal of promoting the 3-star minimum and not their own agenda, and be ready to work collaboratively. Because if you don't speak with one voice, you risk damaging not only the reputation of your core group, but also the larger coalition. This is extremely important, so consistent messaging is key. This is especially crucial in certain countries and cultures where it's hard to get everyone on board without the same level of formalization, for example, through a memorandum of understanding or an MOU. Often you have an MOU with anyone you want to work with, so your document could be an extension of it, defining the size of your group and the division of labor. Bringing these organizations together to create a 6-month timeline of key activities, including which organizations will take what role, is also critical. It helps ensure that everyone is on the same page and helps people manage their workloads. Remember that the members of your core group won't be entirely dedicated to this one cause, so it's easier for them to plan their involvement in advance so they know when coalition activities will pick up. You don't want to surprise them with a heavy workload or an activity they didn't know about and plan for. They're essentially volunteers, which is why it's really important to keep them involved, empowered, and motivated. Finally, coming up with a strategic plan is admittedly challenging, but it's necessary. And the good news is that by putting your heads together, your core group will come up with a better plan than you would have individually. Be prepared to not always get your way and respect that you're all in it together for the same cause, to get minimum 3-star ratings on your roads and save lives. So finally, in this webinar, we've covered quite a bit. We've covered why we need a country coalition, how we build a country coalition, and Valeria has explained how to find objectives, build a map, establish a pipeline, make a strategy, have those first difficult but necessary meetings, and prepare a proposal. And we've also talked about how to have a core group. We've also laid out the map of where all these little factions sit within the coalition to make it easier to visualize. And we've drawn some really important conclusions of how to keep everybody involved and how to find the right key players. So we hope that you'll use the agenda to go back on anything you need to brush up on, and that you'll, of course, feel free to ask us questions.
Thank you very much, Valeria and Natalie. You might have questions to what you have heard today, and we would also like to get your feedback and evaluate this webinar. Please go to our website and to the link here, or to the link you see here on the screen, and you will find the feedback form. Please fill it in and submit it. If you have questions, please add them to the form and we will get back to you. Thank you very much for listening today, and have a safe day.